We are continuing right along. We're going to jump right into it where we started off yesterday, communication mastery. Do you guys remember the last thing that we did yesterday? What did we talk about? What was it?
Urgency.
Urgency. Good. Moving right along to our second power influence trigger. Remember, I'm going to share some of this. I'm going to show you some demonstrations of this. And as we're doing this, I don't ask, I require you come up with questions. I want you to help me dig deeper into these topics so I can customize the ideas and the philosophies and the applications of these triggers for what it is that you are trying to achieve in your own life, whether it be with business or friends or girls or all the above. Make sense? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So our second power influence trigger is authority. All right, authority. Authority you can call also credibility if you wanted. Now, what is authority? Authority is mindless obedience. If you ever wanted a nice, simple, succinct definition, it is mindless obedience. It is when someone just does something the other person says without thinking about it because they are an authority. If we look deeper into it, do you think people like thinking?
No.
Do you think they'd like to avoid thinking? Yeah. And ideally, they would prefer to hand off thinking duties to someone else who they believe to know more about a subject than themselves? That way, they don't have to think at all. They can just trust the other person. This is what human beings are doing all of the time. This is what the idea comes from when we're walking around with our umbilical cords, looking around for someone to plug into, right? Let me plug into you, because you seem like an authority, you seem like an expert, you seem credible, and now you can just do the thinking for me. I don't have to think about it. I can mindlessly obey, aka mindless obedience. Understood? Yes? Mm-hmm. That's authority. That's it, right? Now, this plays a role everywhere. People, systems, and structures. There's rules that are enforced, decisions that are made, compliance that is demanded, right? Do you stop at a stop sign?
Yeah.
That stop sign, dude, that's authority to you. That stop sign is AMOGing you. That's what it's doing. It tells you what to do and you just do it. Why do you do it? You don't want to get hit by an oncoming car.
I don't want a cop to pull me over.
You don't want a cop to pull you over. Why? What happens?
You get a ticket.
You get a ticket. There's consequences. There's a cost to not obeying the government. So you follow it, right? That is mindless obedience. Anyone, like, do most of you look at a stop sign on the way to the stop sign and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to stop this time, and you just go right through? Who here has ever gone straight through a stop sign without even hitting the brake at all? Wow. Who does this consistently? We got one in here. Really?
Malaysia, yeah.
Oh, it's different in Malaysia?
No, I think it's just I just tend to be quite like obedient with rules. Yeah, I'm quite a rule follower.
Wait, so do you go through the stop sign or do you not?
Yeah, I stop. Like,
You okay? I thought you were saying you go right through.
no.
Oh, you don't go right through?
No.
Not at all. Who here goes right through? You go right through.
Yeah.
James, you go right through.
Yeah.
Every time.
Not every time. Only when it's really late at night.
When it's really late at night.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
No, I did it once by accident.
See the stop sign.
Doesn't count, bro. We are dropped into the world where from breath number one. Who remembers breath number one? I don't. I wish I did. I don't. We are dropped into a world where from breath number one, you are conditioned to believe obedience to proper authority is right and disobedience is wrong. Those are big, big ideas that drive a lot of our thinking and our behaviors without us realizing it. Right and wrong. A lot of things we avoid doing because at some point in our lives, we got the idea that it was wrong. So we don't do it. And other things that we always do because we heard that it was right or it was wrong not to do it. Right, look at the very first story in the Bible. Right, it's a perfect story God story, right, which is ironic because it's from the Bible. Right? But it is a perfect story God story. The very first story in the Bible, what is it? Adam and Eve. Right, so what were they doing? They're chilling, fucking, being naked, eating fruit, hanging with animals.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Satan tricked them for eating fruit.
Satan tricked them. He said, what did he say?
He tricked Eve into eating the apple of wisdom.
First of all, if it's called the tree of wisdom. Is that what it was called in the story?
Tree of knowledge of the good and evil.
The tree of knowledge. Who wouldn't want to eat from that tree? Who here is that like, listen, these are all normal trees, but this is the tree of knowledge with all the wisdom. Don't eat from that tree. It's the only tree I want to eat from. It's got me blocked in. How could you not want to eat from that? This is a mean trick someone played on them. That said, yes, right? He comes in there. How does he trick her into eating from this tree of knowledge?
I don't remember the exact words.
Didn't he just like offer to her? He was like, oh, so good.
Maybe he used reverse psychology, maybe.
Like a disqualify? You think he used cherry farms on her?
Yeah, maybe.
Can you imagine? He's cherry farms on Eve. Who has no idea what cherry farms is? 1, 2, 3. Okay. We'll tell you later. So it's important that you do know it, though. It's very important. So anyways, tricks him into eating from the tree. She eats from the tree. Then what happens?
She tricks Adam. She's woke. She convinced Adam to do it.
She tricks Adam into eating it also.
Yeah.
And then what happens to the both of them?
They both eat it after.
They're tossed out,
Exiled.
exiled, kicked out. And this is the story. This is the first story. Who here was taught this story when you were very young? Or heard the story? Sunday school or something like that? Raise your hand. Okay. Most of us. I remember learning that story when I was like 5 or 6, like the first day of like Sunday school. I remember being told this story. And I remember like when they talked about God, I always imagined like an old man in a white robe with like a long flowing white beard and he's got the gray hair. Anyone else picture God that way?
Yeah.
It's so weird. Dan painted with a beard. and like a Hugh Hefner robe or something. With like a staff, a wooden staff. But look at this story. Look at the lesson underlying it. Do what I say and you'll be safe and fed. Disobey me and you'll be kicked out forever. The very first story is an authority story. It is a story saying, follow my rules and you're good, don't follow them and you're out of here. This is the whole story. This is where we started. We've been trained to obey authority since breath number 1. That's how we're conditioned. And when you're younger, you don't know better. Right? When you're young, you can't really think for yourself. You have to find an authority you trust and rely on them to do your thinking and your leading and put food on the table and all those things that really matter. Because you can't do it for yourself. So you're conditioned from the very beginning to follow some authority, obey some authority. All right? Blah, 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 blah. This is in the original Power Influence. We don't need to talk about it. Who here has heard me talk about the study they did with airplane pilots in the simulator? Who has no idea what I'm talking about? All the hands, man. So here's what they do. Airlines suffer from authority bias. There's a flight simulator experiment studied by Charlie Munger. He says, and I quote, you get a pilot and a co-pilot. Actually, close your eyes so you guys can envision this, all right? You get a pilot and a co-pilot. The pilot is the authority figure. Now, they don't do this on airplanes, but they do it in simulators. They have the pilot do something where the co-pilot, who's been trained in simulators a long time, he knows he's not to allow the plane to crash. Well, they have the pilot do something where an idiot co-pilot would know the plane was going to crash, but the pilot's doing it and the co-pilot is just sitting there, and the pilot is the authority figure. So the pilot is doing this thing where even an idiot co-pilot would know the plane was going to crash. But 25% of the time, the co-pilot does nothing, and the plane crashes. You can open your eyes. 25% of the time, the plane still crashes. Why?
Co-pilot doesn't want to disobey.
Co-pilot, I'm a co-pilot. He's the pilot, right? He looks like he's doing something wrong, but I'm not even going to speak up because I'm not the authority here. He is. 1 out of 4 planes crash in the simulator experiment.
The phrase is pilot in command.
In command. In command. Okay. In general, the studies have shown people who are seen to have authority are seen as stronger, more attractive, more respected, and happier as well. All this good shit, right? All this good shit. So what I want to do is I want to talk about one thing that's really important when it comes to authority. There's a lot of techniques we can talk about, right? Especially for your website and your online business, right? Different things like credibility logos, right? So, as seen on, as featured in. These are always key. And sometimes even if it's not you that was featured on it or your product, if your idea, your mechanism, like if you're selling intermittent fasting and intermittent fasting was featured in Men's Health, you can still say, intermittent fasting as seen in or as seen on, and then put those logos there anyways. You can do that. Associations are obviously huge. Who are you seen to be associated with in public or online? If you're seen to be friends with more authoritative figures, more well-known people, more credible people, more experts, you are seen as an expert. Right? The truth is generally seen, rarely heard. Social proof gives you a lot of authority. If you're surrounded by people, if people follow you, if you're in demand, you seem more authoritative. But another big part of it is simply acting like it. Acting like an authority. If you were to act like an authority, what would that mean? How would you act? You have a story, actually, about this, don't you? Because you used to own a nightclub.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So I remember, so it was like last month or back in or 2 months ago, we're back in Arizona. After a 2-year session, we go out for the night. And I was like, you know what? Let me try some of these, let me try the skill now. So I walked around to the club, talking to guy, girl, it didn't really matter who it was. And I would literally go to each and every single one of them and be like, introduce myself, saying, hey, I'm Kenny, how are you? They say, fine, da da da. And then afterwards, my reply would be, so how are the staff treating you tonight? And a lot of them were like, some of them were like skeptical. Other people were like, okay, he's like BSing. But like for those who are like curious, they're like, why do you ask? I would say that, yeah, because I'm the owner of the nightclub, because I just want to make sure that you're having a great service today. Like, I'm just visiting from New York, so I'm not here every week. I'm not here often, so I'm just here for the weekend. And so a lot of people like really fell for it. And again, I told you, like, I was even talking to this one girl at one point where she fell for it as well. And her boyfriend eventually saw us talking, and the boyfriend thought that like I was hitting on her. But so he comes and approaches us, and then as he's talking to, like, he's like, I forget what he said exactly, but he was like saying like, she was just telling him that, you know what, like, don't worry about it. He's like the owner of the nightclub. He's like legit the owner. He's here today, just visiting. As soon as she said that to him, he was like, oh, like, wow. Like, he gives me like a handshake, and he's like everything after that, like, oh, great. He's just like, okay, like, proceed, carry on, da da da. Okay.
Yeah, you're like hitting on his girlfriend. He doesn't like it. She's like, no, baby, it's okay. He's the owner.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, go for it, bro. Good to meet you. Yeah. What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
How did your sub-communications, your body language, your tonality, your presentation, did it change when you took on that frame that I own this nightclub?
It did, yeah, because like I was more aware of like how I was like standing, how I was like walking, like I was making sure I held strong eye contact with everyone. I was making sure I had a friendly handshake. So I was really practicing my body language to like more than usual.
Yeah.
When I was open in that scene. So
Good.
A lot of people fell for it, and they thought, okay, like, wow, this is cool. Like, I even got a picture with like 200 girls just because of that.
They want to take a picture with the owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. You acted like it. They believe it. Most of them do. And it's interesting. It's like when that boyfriend heard that you're the owner, it activates that part of his brain that's like Adam and Eve story. Like, oh shit, I don't want to get kicked out of the nightclub. Let me not piss off the authority. And he just kind of bowed down. Mindless obedience. That's exactly what he did, isn't it? Mindless obedience when he found out you were the owner, even though you weren't. So I want to show you a couple videos demonstrating the power of looking and acting and talking like an authority and how much of an effect it can have on your ability to simply command other people to do things. All right, check this out. All right, let's watch this.
California restaurant. We hid our cameras on the balcony to watch. Instead of a wine steward, we created the world's first water steward. We printed our own elegant water menus with phony imported waters, costing as much as $7 per bottle. What was the actual source of these chic waters? A garden hose on the restaurant patio. I love this fucking show.
Good evening, folks. Welcome. My name is Tim, and I will be your water steward tonight.
Our water steward gives our first lucky couple our special water list.
What do you want to try? this? I'm French. Yeah. What can we get? The Ladue Robinet? The Ladue Robinet? Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
It's French for tap water.
And for you, sir, would you like to try one, maybe compare notes? Yeah, do the other one. Sure, I'll do the Mount Fuji. The Mount Fuji?
Ah, two excellent choices.
It's got a flavor that it almost feels like a beverage other than water without sugar or any additives.
L'eau de Robinet passed the taste test. How about Mount Fuji, which of course came from the same funky hose?
It's right from the top of Mount Fuji. It's a very pure water. It's a natural diuretic and an antitoxin. it does feel glacial. This is great. I've taken the liberty of bringing you a bottle of our Agua de Culo. It's $6.50 per bottle. It's got a very fresh taste to it. It's crisper. It has a crisper kick.
Surely this couple was a representative. Let's see how some other people rated our premium hose water.
Seasoned in tap water. Better than LA County water.
We're pretty sure the hose added that glacial taste that was so widely praised. Back at the restaurant, we had one more very special bottled water for our diners to sample. One with a unique ingredient.
Amazon is filtered by the Brazilian rainforest natural filtration system. This particular water, if you'll notice, has one of the oldest creatures of the Amazonian rainforest placed in the bottom of the bottle. The Brazilian spotted arachnid. It's been purified. A spider, yes. It's called the Amazonian arachnid. It's purified. There's absolutely no toxins involved in the water. It actually adds to the medicinal qualities of the water itself.
Why would anyone outside of the Mojave even consider drinking water with a spider in it? Because, just like with real bottled water companies, it's all in how you sell it. So how did our diners compare the various bottles of hose water they sampled?
What do you think about the Amazon?
I just thought it was fresher, felt pure. Okay, now I can taste the difference on this one.
I can taste the difference too. This is definitely to taste the minerals. It's a harder water, I guess, you know. But in this one, I don't taste the minerals so much.
Well, maybe it was time to let the diners know just what they've been drinking.
Now, what would you think if I told you that all of these waters came from the same garden hose? I actually filled the bottles myself.
No, you didn't.
I did.
You're kidding me.
Okay. Waters came from the water hose.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so let that sink in for a second. What was it? My favorite part is like, what did he say? He goes, it's a diuretic and filled with antitoxins. Fuck does that mean? Oh, that is amazing. So, what did you guys notice? What did you see? What went off for you as you were watching that?
They never questioned him.
They didn't question him at all. Did anyone question him?
No.
A water steward. Let's look at all the different pieces that came together to make this work. So he had an official title. He wasn't just a guy, right? He said water steward. Okay? 2, he was dressed the part. Right? He looked like a water steward, if there was such a thing. 3, he had his nose in the air. Right? He kind of came off pretentious, didn't he? Like he was selling you an expensive bottle of wine. Right? 4, the context, the environment. Right? This is an environment of a fancy restaurant where you might expect something like a water steward, right? It's not out of context. It makes sense. Oh yeah, water steward, special waters flown in from all around the world. Of course.